Okay, good evening everybody and welcome. I'm just going to do a quick sound and screen check. Would you mind just typing into your questions box if you can hear me nice and clearly and if you can see my screen which should say Advanced AdWords Strategies. Right, okay, a few yeses coming in. Yep, all good. Yep, fantastic. That's lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, so good evening. This is Claire Jarrett, otherwise known as the top-ranked AdWords trainer worldwide. And we're about to learn so much this evening, and I'm really pleased about what I'm going to share with you in this workshop this evening. So this is Advanced AdWords Strategies, what's working now as of August 2013. So AdWords is my favourite topic, as you may know, and it's the top marketing tool that millions of businesses are using successfully across the world, some more successfully than others, of course. Because AdWords is the best tool for driving leads and sales fast, quickly into your business. So I'm really keen to help you see this evening how you can improve your current AdWords account and really use it as a major component of your marketing strategy. So it hasn't always been this way for me. So back in 2006, when I launched my first business, I experienced times when AdWords was costing me hundreds or thousands of pounds each month with no or very little return. So what I did was I started investing serious time and effort to master AdWords, basically. I bought books, courses, everything I could lay my hands on. So I started to put it all together, and I came up with a formula that allowed me to set up an AdWords account, do the keyword research, and then start bringing lots of leads from it. And following that, my second business, I actually set up an AdWords and SEO agency that I sold last year in 2012. And my focus now is entirely on showing small business owners, training them how to get the best results from Google themselves. So I'm going to show you, to the best of my ability, how to do that in this webinar. So the exact steps and tips to use in this workshop, what you need to focus on, what mistakes to fix that I spot all the time, what new features you need to be aware of. Okay, because there's hundreds of small features that they're changing all the time in Google. So which ones do you need to be aware of? And because when AdWords starts working, it really starts working. So when you get off this workshop, you're going to have learned a lot about AdWords and how to get it working for you, and hopefully understand what a powerful tool it is to bring in leads fast. Okay, so, right, I'm not actually going to enter presentation mode, so what you'll see is you'll be able to see the PowerPoint presentation that I've prepared. You'll actually be able to see it to the right of the screen. The reason I'm going to do that rather than entering full presentation screen mode is I will be jumping backwards and forwards into Google AdWords to actually demonstrate it live to you. Now I will warn you in advance that because I'm demonstrating it live, sometimes because this is a webinar and it's coming internet to internet and some people have slightly slower internet connections, it may appear sometimes, the cursor may appear slightly jumpy across your screen. So I do apologise in advance if that happens. But hopefully you'll still be able to see, the end result will still be that you'll be able to see where I will demonstrate to you very clearly where you need to click and where you need to look. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to ask you all to let us know, I'm going to run a quick poll, how much are you currently spending on AdWords each month? Okay, so you should have just had some questions appear in front of you that you need to choose one of. So how much are you currently spending on AdWords? So some of you will be spending nothing at all because you've tried AdWords in the past, it hasn't worked, or maybe you're absolutely brand new to it. Some of you will be spending higher amounts, so I'm just going to wait for the results of that to come in. So if I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, okay, so I've got 39% of you are currently spending nothing at all on AdWords. 29% spending between £1 and 300, 16% between 301 and 600, 7% between 601 and 1500, and 9% of you are spending over 1500 per month. Okay, so that was lovely. Thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to close that poll off. Okay, so it gives me a better idea and understanding of my audience and the type of budgets that you're currently managing. Okay, so tonight's agenda is the 5 specific issues that I identify in practically all of the accounts I audit. So I audit a lot of accounts, either because they're members of my online course or because people have come to the website and requested an audit. And they always have the same issues in. 99% of them have exactly the same issues. So I'm going to talk you through those issues and how you would fix them this evening. I'm then going to look at advanced keyword research strategies. So this is what I use for advanced keyword research. So I don't use the Google keyword tool, particularly, I might use it occasionally for some basic keyword research, but there are advanced research strategies that I use that I'm going to show you. And then also what's new now, so what's working now, so what have they changed recently in Google AdWords as of August 2013. And then finally, if you're interested in taking your learning to the next step with me, then there are some further steps that you could take if you choose to, and we'll come to that later on. Okay, so now the main problems that people experience with AdWords are, well, lots of people have tried AdWords, they've tried spending money, and they've either made no money, they've either made a loss, or they're just making such little return that they can't justify leaving it on. That will probably have come from having accepted various default settings, which will have cost you a lot of money but made Google a lot of money. And the interface itself is often very confusing, and it's not the easiest to learn, especially because it's always changing. So it's changing all the time. The biggest changes that you may have heard of is the fact that they've upgraded all campaigns to enhanced campaigns, whether you liked it or not. So there's recent changes. And there's no real shortcuts unless you know how, to your learning. It's not the easiest of platforms to learn. Okay, so I'm just going to launch a second poll now, where I'm going to ask you what your biggest problem has been with AdWords. So has yours been learning the interface? Maybe you got banned. Maybe it's the fact it's constantly changing. Maybe you discovered you had little return on investment, or maybe it was all of them. Okay, so either choose your biggest one or say all of them if you tried it and discovered all of those problems. Okay, so I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, okay. So I've 31% of you said that learning the interface was the most difficult thing. 2% of you said that you got banned or disapproved by Google. 9% said it was the fact it was constantly changing. 45% of you discovered that you were getting little return on investment, and 13% of you said that it was all of them. Okay, so that's lovely feedback. Okay, right, so we're going to get ready to just jump into the content now, but I just want to let you know that we will be stopping regularly for questions throughout the presentation. So I've actually put stops in where you can ask questions. Now, there's a lot of you on the line, so I can't guarantee to answer absolutely every question, but I will do my best to answer as many as I possibly can. Okay, so do feel free to ask questions if you want to. Okay, so we're going to jump now into the top 5 mistakes AdWords users make, with number 1 being the fact that people don't realize they need to match the advert heading to the keywords that they are bidding upon. Okay, so you need to match the advert heading to the keywords. What do I mean by that? Let's look at an example. Okay, so I've got an example on the page here. We're imagining that someone has done a search in Google for a florist in their area, in this case Bristol. So you can see that I've imagined that they've typed in florist in Bristol. So what happens is every time Google finds the matching word, it puts it in bold. So we've got florist in Bristol there in bold, and there in bold, and there in bold. Okay, it's put the word flowers in bold here in the adverts on the right because it thinks that flowers is close enough to florist. It's also put the singular version, so florist in Bristol, it's put it in bold. Okay, but look here, this advert from Arena Flowers, flower delivery Bristol, that's not quite close enough in Google's eyes, so you can see it's not actually in bold. So Google is the #1 search engine in the world because it delivers the most relevant results and it wants to stay that way. So by placing the matching words in bold, it's showing people, look how relevant I am. You know, look, here's exactly what you're searching for. Placing the words in bold gets a higher click-through rate, which is the percentage of people that click it. So this in turn then means that Google makes more money. Okay, and that's obviously its number one priority, is to make sure that it makes as much money as possible. So Google wants relevance overall. So your advert must match the keywords. Therefore, you cannot have just one or a handful of adverts for hundreds of keywords, because how can that one advert fit in all of the keywords? You know, if you've got lots of keywords, you can't fit them all in the heading there. Okay, it's just physically not possible. So instead, your advert must be created to match the keyword. So you need to break the campaign up. So your campaign at the moment, if you've got lots of different keywords in there with just one poor advert trying to do the work, what you need to do is go and break it out as far as you possibly can. And how far we actually split it out normally is we actually sometimes go out to even just one keyword per group, because that then means that each keyword has a matching advert for that group. So that's, as you can imagine, that's a fair amount of work, but that is how to get the best click-through rates, is to break it down as far as you can. Okay, so what needs to happen to overcome this mistake is you need to make sure that each keyword is in the advert. As I've said, normally the heading makes sense, so that the keywords will be in bold, as a result of which your click-through rate will then be higher. There's greater relevance because obviously it's appearing in bold. This means it's better for users because they're thinking, oh wow, look, an advert that exactly matches what I typed. It's better for Google, more cash for Google. Google's happy with you. It regards you better as an advertiser and will reward you with cheaper clicks as well, due to a factor that we'll come on to very shortly. Okay, so we will have time to stop for questions very shortly. So I've got we've got the 5 mistakes to go through, then I'll stop and go through some of the questions. Okay, so number 2, very related, this one, having too many keywords in one group. So what I see, which is very common, is lots of very unrelated keywords like the ones I've just highlighted. Okay, so the keyword list might be babywear, children, parenting, baby care, all of these unrelated keywords. Okay, but as I've already mentioned, how can this one advert match all these keywords? It's just not possible. So what you need to do is put each keyword in its own ad group, as I've said, so it can then have a matching advert. So here's an example. I suggest naming it, whatever the keyword is. In this example, I've put AdWords training. I would then use that as the ad group name to make it easier to find what keyword is inside. You know, I just that's my personal preference. Whatever the keyword is, that's what I call the ad group name as well. And I then put that exact same keyword in as the title that you can see just there. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So those 2 mistakes are very closely related. Okay, so the third mistake that people make is not realizing that they need to address something called low quality score. It's a score that all of your keywords have, which is between 1 and 10, where 10 is the best and 1 is the worst. But you might be wondering right now why you need to worry about quality score. I'm going to show you that very, very soon, because it will be costing you money. So let me show you how you can actually see your quality score. Okay, so we're going to go into an AdWords account and click on Keywords, Customize Columns. I'm going to go and show you that live now. Okay, so I'm going to jump into an AdWords account. I'm going into the Keywords tab. Underneath where it says the word Keywords, I've got a little drop-down box that says Columns. If I go to Columns, Customize Columns, I need to make sure I'm in the attributes metrics, and we want the one that says qual score, and you then need to add it. You can see mine already says added. Okay, yours probably won't if this is the first time you've done this. So you would add it, and you would then apply it, and that will then save it. Okay, so what will then happen is you will then be able to see a variety of different scores. Okay, so I've just sorted mine there by quality scores. So you'll be able to see a variety of quality scores between 10 all the way down to 1, where 10 is the highest. Okay, so 10 is the best, 10 is what you want to see. But look what difference it makes. Let me show you this next chart and you'll start to see the difference in why it makes a difference. So 5 is the standard. Okay, so 5 means you get no increase and no decrease. If your quality score is 6, you get a discount on every single click of 16.7%. If you manage to get your quality score to 7, you get a discount of 28.6%. If you manage to get it all the way up to 10, you're paying 50% less per click than you were when it was a 5. Okay, so that's the difference it can make if you increase it. But as I said, I audit accounts all the time where we've got 1s, 2s, 3s, and look at the differences it can make. This is how much more you're paying for every single click. Increase by 150% if your quality score is 2. So, absolutely shocking. The difference it can make really is incredible. Okay, so lots of people tend to overlook this factor, but it is one of the biggest cost factors for the entire account. So, how do you actually increase your quality score? So the main factor for quality score is relevance and click-through rate, which we've just spoken about how to increase relevance. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through, match each advert closely to every single keyword, ideally a single ad group, if you can go to that level for each keyword, and as a result of which the click-through rate will increase because obviously the adverts are more relevant. As soon as your click-through rate increases, quality score will start to increase as well. So your costs will come down and conversions will go up because of the increased relevance. Okay, so that's the type of difference that it makes. It really is a very big difference. Okay, so we've got mistakes number 4 and number 5 to go, then I'll jump into some questions. So mistake number 4, people are still using normal broad match keywords. So a normal broad match keyword is where, let me just show you what it would look like if it was a normal broad match. Okay, so it wouldn't have the dot in front. Let me get rid of the dot. Okay, so let's say that you've got a keyword in there that looks like this, Excel courses. Okay, now whether you realize it or not, that keyword is being matched against loads of irrelevant keywords because Google is matching it against things that it thinks are closely related. But the bad news is that it often gets it wrong. So if in your keyword group, in your keyword tab, you've got lots of keywords with nothing around, okay, and that'll make more sense, nothing around, when I demonstrate to you what you need to do to it to fix this, then you are accidentally paying for hundreds of totally unrelated, irrelevant clicks. Once, the example I like to tell people about is I was advertising Excel courses. Somebody found my ad when they were looking for dog training. Okay, because it had the word training in it. Google thought that was similar enough to courses. How it thought dog was similar to Excel, I do not know. But this is the danger of broad match. It's a very, very dangerous thing to use. So what I always suggest people do in an audit, if I spot standard broad match, is I suggest that people swap to modified broad match. And that is quite simply where you put a plus in front of each of the words. So instead of Excel courses, we have plus Excel space plus courses. Let me just show you that. Okay, so let me just show you an example here. So I'm going to show you, in fact, I'll show you live how to actually fix this as well. So, okay, I'm in the keywords tab. I'd scroll down until I found one which is a broad match. Obviously, this one isn't totally broad. Okay, so I could have, you can see here I can fix it. Okay, so let me show you how I click that. I just clicked it and it said, did I want to edit it? And I clicked, yes, I understand. And all I would do then is go and put the word, put the symbol plus in front of each of the words. So I would type plus little space plus Stoke space plus locksmith. Okay, it really is as simple as that. And I leave it set to broad match. When I click on that drop down arrow, see there's no option there for modified broad match. Google have kept this very quiet. There's not many people that know about this. Still, even now, this is why I spot it all the time in when I'm auditing accounts. So you leave it set to broad match, you just make sure that there's a plus in front of the words. So you're going to want to go through your account and double check if you've got broad match keywords. And if you have, you're going to want to go through and put the pluses in front of it, really pretty quickly. Okay, so the final mistake before we go on to some questions is people are still not tracking the leads that they received. And this is what we call in the industry optimizing blind. So you must be tracking leads. If you have got an email address on the website and you're using that to track leads, that makes it very, very difficult for you. What you need to do is replace the email address with a contact form of some kind. And that contact form, when it's submitted, it will normally go to a thank you page. It says thank you for submitting. On that thank you page, that's where you can put code to actually track the conversions. Now, as well as that, you can also now track phone calls, which are, if you've got a mobile site, you can actually track phone calls by quite simply putting an action on the phone number on your mobile website. Okay, so there'll be more about that actually in the Google Help, so I'm not going to go through how to do the technicalities of that now. But let me show you how to set up the conversions. If we go to Tools and Analysis, I'll then go into Conversions. Okay, so let's just wait for my computer to catch up with me. Okay, and I would just quite simply click on Conversion, and let's say that this was a lead. I'm going to have to give it a random number because I've done this a few times with this account. It's going to be a web page that we're tracking because it's a thank you page. Save and continue. Not going to change anything else on that page. Save and continue, and you then can email that to your web designer. So you just quite simply tick the box that says someone else makes changes to the code, email it to them, or you can tick the box that says I make changes to the code, there's the code that you need there. That code, all you do is then pop that onto your thank you page, and that will then track a conversion. And you can also then do exactly the same. Okay, let's click on done for that one. Let's track a call. So conversion would be call on site, call it phone call. Okay, I'm not going to change anything on this page. It's really easy to do. I make changes to the code. This code needs to go on your mobile website. Okay, it really is as simple as that. And it means that as soon as anybody clicks on your phone number from a mobile website, it means that you've got a conversion. You've now got phone calls being tracked as well. It's an amazing. So this is very recent that they've introduced this call tracking. So this is fantastic. So we're now closing the gap on email conversions via a form and phone conversions. Okay, right. So before we move on to the advanced keyword research techniques, I'm going to stop now for some questions. Okay, I'm just going to drag my questions box out so that I can read through them. Okay, so Neil says, what does modified broad match actually do that broad match wouldn't, Claire? Right, okay, Neil, yeah, you may realise that actually I didn't actually fully explain that, so thank you for clarifying that, Neil. So what modified broad match does is it cuts it out so that it's not quite as random what it will match it against. So instead of instead of matching it against dog training, for example, in that example I showed you for Excel courses, putting the plus in front of each word, what that does is it means that each of the words with the plus in front of, only very close variations can be matched against. So it might be a misspelling of Excel, for example. It might be Microsoft Excel courses. it might be Excel training, because training is similar enough to courses. So it's only very, very closely related words. And it certainly would not have shown it for the word dog. So that would have and if all you do is go through and change your broad matches to modify broad matches, your click-through rate will possibly double. It will go up to double. It will certainly increase a huge amount, because your adverts are showing against loads of rubbish keywords right now, whether you realize it or not. So, it really is very essential to make sure you've got the pluses in front of the keywords. So Tim's asked, why do we need to add the plus in the broad match keyword? So Tim, that's because it shows Google you don't have free reign on this keyword to match it against whatever you feel like. You must only match it against something very closely related. So you're telling Google, to be very, very similar. Okay. Justin's asked about AdWords for video. I don't use AdWords for video, so I'm not sure if it's the same. I should imagine it probably is, but not entirely sure. Jerry's asked, what's a good click-through rate? Ideally, you would be aiming at least for 3%, but anywhere up to around about 11 or 12% if you're in the top 3, Jerry, is what I would be suggesting. Okay, so 3% as an average. Okay, so Wagered has said, what's the best way to track calls on desktop websites? You would need to use a special call tracking software. There are a few out there. There's one called AdInsight that I've worked with, and Infinity that I've worked with. The bad news is they are still fairly expensive for small businesses. So they start off at £100 a month to track calls. And what they do is they actually change the phone number on the site dynamically. So they put some code in your site and change it so that each visitor sees a different phone number. So you can track it on desktops as well as mobiles, but you need a third-party software to do that. Okay. Steve says, what if quality score does not raise even after improvements? How long does it take effect? You should see improvements within a week or so to quality score if you split this out. If not, then quality score, the main factor affecting its click-through rate. So write better ads. That really is, just keep writing better and better ads. Try something totally different with your ads. Keep trying to get quality score up. Okay. Yeah, Mike said that I have 6 tracking numbers for £30 a month from a company in Brum. Yeah, Mike, I've heard of these tracking numbers because I know that Nigel Botterill talks about them. But the trouble is it doesn't track it to the keyword level, whereas Infinity and AdInsight will track it. They will say the campaign name was this, the ad group was this, the keyword was this, and the advert was this. It'll even tell you even down to the specific advert they clicked. So if you're going into that level of detail, then they are brilliant. But yes, you absolutely could just buy a call tracking number. So that would definitely work as well. Neil says, is quality score affected by your landing page as well, or just your adverts, ad group and keyword? So they do run a quick test on it to make sure that your landing page isn't duping people, that it's not spammy, and that it is actually about this topic. So I would suggest that you do mention the keywords on that page somewhere, and they don't like squeeze pages, so they don't like the one-page websites. They ideally want you to actually send them to a page where people can navigate to other pages within the rest of the website as well, or else Google doesn't like it, unfortunately. Okay, so Sean said Mongoose is supposed to be good as well, so thank you for that, Sean. I've not heard of them. Okay, I'm just reading back through some questions. Steve says, what is a conversion if you have a dedicated email to your site? Isn't that the same? Steve, if you have a web form, then what you can do is you can actually run search query reports that we'll be looking at in a minute. And the search query reports will actually show you what keyword they converted on. The trouble with having a dedicated email is the fact that you can't tell what keyword they came through on. So that's why it's ideal to actually have a form instead of just the email address. So Duncan says, what are your thoughts on exact and phrase match options? Obviously, for the purposes of today, we've covered just broad matches, but yes, there are other match types. We're not going to cover those today, but yes, they are worth including as well. Okay, and I've got Steve has asked a similar question there as well. Okay, right, so we'll get ready to move on. Right, so what we're going to do now is look at my preferred method for advanced keyword research, where you can actually get Google to do the research for you. And what you can do is you can mine your search query reports for new keywords, and you're actually getting the research done in real time. So this is what people actually typed. You get all of their misspellings. You get some really odd permutations of keywords that you'd never thought of. And the best bit about it is the fact that if you do this, you'll have keywords that nobody else thought of because you've got live keyword research. So this is how we quite often start off a new campaign for a client, is we'll run through the search query report, identify a few hundred keywords that people have actually been typing, and then we pop them into a template that we use and upload ads for every single keyword, in each ad group. So the best bit is you've now got keywords that work because they were keywords that people were actually typing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into a different account a second, just bear with me. Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm going to leave this set to last month. I'm going to go to details. So I'm in, let me just go through that a bit slower a minute. So I've set the time frame. So I've set it to last month. I'm then in keywords. So I'm in the keywords tab. I'm then going to go to details all. Okay, and that's how to run a search query report. It was in keywords, details, all. Okay, and what will now happen is you now have a big long list of keywords that people actually typed. Okay, so I'm just going to download that now, and you can then play around with it in Excel, which is what we tend to do with it. Okay, because it's just easier to play around with in Excel. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a minute because I appreciate that might be a little bit difficult for you to see. Okay, now in column B, this is where we've actually got the keywords that people actually typed in. Now you can see that what I have here is actually a misspelt keyword, so Irish dominanins, okay, and then another misspelling here. So that would mean that you could actually include those as new keywords if you wanted to. Okay, so we've then got hundreds. If you do this and you scroll down through your own account and look to see what you were actually paying for. So those of you who've tried AdWords before in the past and have then stopped, if you have a look through and see what you were actually spending money on, you will probably be shocked. I've had people on my courses before who have realized they've spent hundreds or thousands of pounds on irrelevant keywords. So you can use this to then copy and paste lots of keywords into a template for actually creating lots of ad groups so that they will be matching, so that each keyword will match with a matching advert. What you can then also do is look through and see if you can find any negative keywords. So keywords you don't want to spend money on. So it was looking through here that I found dog training, for example. So it was looking through here that I then spotted somebody who typed in dog training. So I then went and added the word dog in as a negative. So let me just go and show you where I would add the negative. Okay, so I'm going to take myself back out of there. So we're in keywords, negative keywords. I'm scrolling all the way to the bottom. Okay, so keywords tab at the bottom, you'll find something that says negative keywords. Okay, and I would add it at the campaign level. So campaign level, add keywords, choose the campaign that I wanted to add it to, and I would add the word dog, for example, and that would have stopped my dog training example from showing. Okay, so back to the search query report. So what we've also got here in column L is conversions. So what I could do is sort it. Not sure how familiar you are with Excel, but you didn't realize this was going to be an Excel tutorial as well. So we could go sort largest to smallest, and actually then we could actually then only grab keywords that were actually causing conversions. So you can see we've got 4 conversions, 3 conversions for these keywords, etc. So that's quite often how we set up a new campaign, is we actually go through and look for keywords that did actually convert to actually start, start a new campaign off successfully. Okay, so, right, I'm just going to jump now into questions for that. So any questions on that advanced keyword research method I've just shown you? Justin said, can you only pull those keywords from AdWords when you've been running a campaign? Yeah, Justin, the key here is that you only see the keywords you've paid for. So you don't see, well, obviously, if your campaign hasn't been running, you've not paid for any clicks. So this is live data. This is what you actually paid for. You know, it's amazing data to go through, and that's why you'll spot lots of misspellings and things you hadn't realized you needed to include as negatives and all sorts. What's the best keyword tool for a new campaign, says Waged. I probably would start off with just the basic Google AdWords keyword tool when brand new. I would leave it running for a couple of weeks, and I would then run those search query reports every week and find new keywords. So you just identify 20 or 30 from the keyword tool, leave it running. Google will identify new keywords for you that are closely matched if you've used the pluses in front of. And it will then, you'll then identify and build your own big keyword list over time. Neil says, can you use Webmaster Tools to give you the same data on your site? Possibly, Neil, but if people aren't logged in, and which is a real problem for people collecting data, then obviously it says not set or something similar. If people are logged into their Google account because they've got privacy settings on, you can't see what keyword they used. The best thing about this is Google gets rid of the privacy in this, for the search query report, it shows you every single search, even if people were logged into their Google accounts. So hopefully you'll find that the data is actually more complete than using any other source. Right, I'm just going to go, oops, I was trying to zoom up the questions and I've just been zoomed in the PowerPoint. Okay, so Louise says, is it best to point someone to your site, or is it most likely people expect to fill in a form? Louise, I'm a firm fan in sending them to a landing page, which is a nice landing page that demonstrates your brand, which has testimonials on, and where there is a little small form on it so that people can fill it in to get more information, maybe a little video on there explaining more about you. So absolutely, I prefer to send them to the site, and Google wants you to do that as well. If you send them to a single page, I have had a problem with this with a client who send them to a one-page landing page that they couldn't get out of, they couldn't get back to the rest of the site. Google actually marked the landing page quality down, and we've actually got a problem with low quality score as a result. So Google wants you to send them to a decent page on your site where they can get to the rest of the site as well. Okay, so Brian, I probably would use the other match types as well. So as I said, we're not going to cover the other match types in detail today. So yes, I probably would use the other match types too. Jason, I don't use image ads except for remarketing. So we're not going to cover remarketing today. Remarketing is when you get followed around by the ads. So image ads I do tend to use for remarketing, for helping build a brand and following people around with, with branded images like logos, etc. Caroline says, is there an alternative to the keyword tool as it's being discontinued? As far as I'm aware, it's being discontinued only if you don't have an AdWords account. So if you have an AdWords account, it will still exist. It's being discontinued for people if they're not logged in to AdWords. So that's my understanding of it, Caroline. So you should be fine. All of us should be fine. Robert says, can we add misspelling to the ad groups? You certainly could do. So Robert says, well, a specific example Robert says is, could I add website for Palmer to the ad group website for plumber? Yes, you definitely could do. Yep, and yours would be more likely to be the advert that got picked up then. So yes, that's a good idea, Robert. Duncan says, where would you start if you don't have campaign history? Google Analytics, for example. If you don't have any campaign history at all, I would start with the keyword tool, so with the AdWords keyword tool. And we're not going to go into the keyword tool today, but you can actually find it here in Tools and Analysis keyword tool. It's fairly self-explanatory. If you type in any one of your products and services, it'll come up with a long list of related keywords. That would be a good place to start, Duncan. Chris says, do you think it's better to use a shared library for negative keywords and manage it this way? So the negative keywords we just looked at, there are different ways of managing them. Chris, you could do, because then it means you can apply the library of negative keywords to every single campaign. Yes, you could do. Quite often we use AdWords Editor, and we actually copy and paste negative lists between campaigns, just because that's a habit that we've got into. That's another way as well. So either way would be fine. Okay. So Louise says, how do you know if you've been blacklisted? Maybe from using landing pages. You would definitely have been sent an email if you were blacklisted. Google are very good at telling you if there's problems with your account. They like sending you emails saying your ad's been disapproved or your ad's been banned or something like that. So yes, you should know. You would have been sent an email. And you can always contact Google. They have got a UK phone number, and they will answer. They will talk to you on the phone and help you through any problems that you're experiencing. So they will do that to stop you from being blacklisted. Right, okay, so let me just move the question box out of the way a minute. Okay, so we're now going to move on to new things that have recently come about in AdWords. So what's working now as at August 2013? So whether you liked it or not, your campaigns were recently enhanced by Google. So you would have all been sent an email to your Gmail account or whichever is the registered email on your account saying your campaigns have now been enhanced. So you all had this done whether you realized it or not. The bad news is that Google automatically set your ads to run on mobiles as well as PCs without asking you first. And unless you manually chose a mobile bid modifier, Google chose it for you. Okay, so what do we mean by a mobile bid modifier? Okay, so if we go into the settings for a campaign, okay, so you can see I'm in all online campaigns, which you can get to by clicking here, all online campaigns. I've gone to settings, and I'm then going to go to devices. Okay, so settings, devices. Okay, so you can see that here we have some bid adjustments. Now I have manually set these, but Google will have set you some whether you realized it or not. So I looked at somebody's campaign the other day who'd had theirs upgraded by Google, and it said minus 12%. Now what does that mean? What it means is that Google thinks other advertisers in your industry pay 12% less for mobiles, so it was going to accept that for you as well. It just basically did an average. The bad news is it had hardly any data to go on. It probably got it completely wrong, and you might not have wanted to bid on mobiles at all. If you didn't want to bid on mobiles at all, you can turn it off. And I suggest you do, unless you have a mobile optimized site or a responsive website. Okay, so that's very important, because you may want to turn it off completely. You do need a mobile website in order to make sense for it to be bidding on mobiles, or else they're not going to know what to do when they get to the site. It's probably not going to be the easiest sites to navigate. So this is how you can change it. Okay, so I'm in all online campaigns, settings, devices, as I've previously demonstrated. Okay, I've then gone to bid adjustment for each campaign. It doesn't look clickable, but look what happens if I click it. Okay, so I get a little edit button. Okay, so I've got the option here to decrease it by, and if you wanted to turn it off completely for mobiles, you would decrease it by 100%. Okay, and you would now have turned mobiles off. For this one, this particular account, they don't tend to get many conversions from mobiles. I did that from having studied the history, okay, which I'm not going to go into now because that would take a long time to cover. But I decreased it by 90%, okay, and then save it. Now, for a locksmith account, I actually increase it. So my husband's a locksmith, which many of you are aware of because his accounts is one of the ones that obviously that I work on and demonstrate a lot. Oh, not keywords, sorry. Settings, devices. Okay, and look at the bid modifier that we're paying for here. Okay, so in this campaign, locksmith, so somebody's looking on a mobile phone for a locksmith. They're in an emergency situation. They're more likely to convert. So in this case, I've got an increase. So in the last one, it was a decrease. This one is an increase. Okay, so if I click on this one, it opens it up. You can see this one is increased by 120%. Okay, so you can see that a £10 bid would become £22. Okay, so that's the difference that it makes. I'm just going to grab a drink very quickly a second. Sorry to get a tickly throat there. Okay, so what I suggest you do is go through and check what Google did when it enhanced your campaign if it wasn't you that did it, because you're going to want to adjust these manually, turning it to minus 100% unless you've got a mobile optimized site. Okay, so we've got a few more changes to go through, then I'll take questions on these. So you'll then want to monitor the traffic regularly. So what's actually happening with the traffic? And you can actually split it up. So let me show you now how to split up the traffic. So if I go to campaigns, then I'm going to go to segment and device. Okay, so I'm in all online campaigns. I've chosen campaigns, segment, device. Okay, now look, you can now see the breakdown for every single campaign. Apologies, these campaigns are paused because obviously my husband's not working this evening because he's in charge of the kids while I'm doing the webinar, so that's why this one's paused. So you can see that mobile devices with full browsers has had 15 impressions in this campaign. Let's look at one that's actually had some traffic. So this campaign has computers, 47 clicks, click-through rate 3.47, the average cost per click was £3.94. Mobile devices was substantially more, like £9.12 per click. That's due to the bid modifier. Okay, and then a click-through rate of 2.5%. But the average position was obviously a fair bit higher. Okay, so that, I would keep an eye on that, and in particular, obviously there's no conversion showing on this one at the moment. I would keep an eye on the conversion difference as well, and if conversions are lower than you would expect, you'll want to go and adjust your bid modifier and put it up. But that's how to look at the difference once you've actually adjusted it. Okay, so what I would suggest you do is examine your search query reports regularly as well. So this is one of the weekly things that you should be doing, is looking through your search query reports. So run that report that I showed you each week and find new keywords to add in brand new groups, but also find new keywords to add in as negatives. So that's what we do, that's what my agency does, and that's what I do for clients, is adding in negatives and adding in new keywords as groups so that they're more likely to get the clicks. What you'll also want to do is create enhanced site links and include description lines where possible. So your site links, they're now 25 characters long. So let me just go and show you what a site link is. Okay, I'm just going to zoom into that so you can see that a bit better. So site links are the links within the advert here. Okay, so you can see I've got 4 links appearing here. These are actually really nice site links. I like them because they've got prices on. So if you've ever been on any other webinars I've done, you'll know that I really like it if people include prices, because it really does increase click-through rate if you can include figures of some kind. So each of these has to go to a different page. So that would obviously go to a vinyl banner page, that one would go to a poster page, etc. And you would normally I normally set up 3 or 4 of them. You can set up more than that, but I've never seen any more than 3 or 4 appearing. So I don't know why you'd want to create more than that, especially when you think you've got to go to the to the trouble of actually creating different landing pages for each of these. So I would suggest that, just 3 or 4 would be fine. And your site links would be, if I go to Add Extensions, click on the drop-down arrow here where it says View. I'm going to go to Site Link Extensions. Okay, now you can see that I've got 3 site links here. But look what you can now do. You can now include an extra sentence underneath them. So these haven't started appearing yet. They have in the United States, but they've not yet started appearing yet. So this extra sentence for the site link will start appearing underneath each of these very soon. So I've got mine in ready to go, because as soon as it goes live, this will hugely increase click-through rate, because you can imagine with the extra description line in as well, this advert's going to be taking up, a huge amount of the page. And we think this is the move that Google's making, is making it so that the adverts take up a bigger and bigger percentage of the page. This is why you have to be concentrating on having an AdWords campaign running. Okay, so let's imagine that I wanted to create a new extension. I'll just demonstrate that to you quickly. So in a new extension, I select any campaign. Okay, and I would then go to New Site Link. Okay, and then the link text is, can you see there, it says 25. That's because it used to be 35 characters. So when they've enhanced campaigns, they've moved you from 35 characters to 25 characters. And that could be something like, well, I'm going to type in one that we already have just as a demonstration. So with you in 15 to 30 mins. Okay, and then I would send them to a specific page on the website. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to make that URL up. Okay, but look what you can do here as well if you want to. You could set that as just a mobile call extension. So that could be a this site link could be visit our mobile website now, or click here to visit our mobile landing page, or click here to call from your mobile. Anything like that would work. Okay, so you would tick that box if you wanted that to be a mobile extension, and then it would only appear on mobiles. And with mobiles, obviously, you would probably only want 1 or 2 because there's not that amount of room. All of your extensions wouldn't appear on a mobile. Okay, but this is where you get a chance now to actually increase your click-through rate hugely. So that's the normal text, so with you in 15 to 30 minutes, which is this bit here. So vinyl banner printing from £6.49. Okay, you can see I've got numbers in my site link there, so 15 to 30 minutes. Anytime you can get numbers in your adverts and your site links, that really does make a difference. People like specifics. And the description bit, I'm going to fill this in ready for when it starts showing over here. So something like need a locksmith fast, with you in under 30 minutes. Okay, and that extra sentence will then appear under here, and you can imagine that will hugely increase click-through rate as soon as this goes live. You want to get your descriptions there ready, ready to go. Okay, so that was the site links and the shorter mobile site links. So which keywords are contributing to sales? So you can actually, I'm just going to jump into a different account a minute, excuse me if your screen is just going a bit jumpy, that's because I'm just swapping accounts. You can actually add in extra columns to your standard viewpoint, because Google hides some of them in the attempt not to confuse you. It does a very bad job, unfortunately, because people are still very confused by the interface. But it has hidden some of the columns so that you don't get quite as confused by them. And some of the keywords might be high up in what's called the search pathway. So, for example, you might have a keyword that's getting a lot of impressions, that's being seen a lot, but isn't getting any conversions. You can now prove that that is causing later conversions by adding in some extra columns that show you something called view-through conversions and click-assisted conversions and impression-assisted conversions. Okay, so let me just demonstrate that to you a bit better and go through that a bit clearer. Okay, so this campaign has had 22 specific conversions, 8 conversions where somebody clicked and then converted elsewhere, possibly in a different campaign. It had 21 extra conversions where somebody saw the advert without clicking it and then converted elsewhere. Okay, so those are the differences there. So we've got click-assisted conversion, meaning they clicked it but then converted in a different campaign. 21 for impression-assisted conversions, that means that they saw it but didn't click it but then converted elsewhere. So that means they were subconsciously influenced by, they were subconsciously influenced by seeing your ad because they were seeing it everywhere, and they had no choice but to click it, and they were being subconsciously influenced, and you're dominating Google. So that's possibly what happened there. Okay. So let me show you how to turn that on so you can actually see that. We would go to columns, customize columns, and it's then in search funnels. Okay, so it was columns, customize columns, search funnels, and you can see I've then added in click assisted conversions. I clicked add, impression assisted conversions, I clicked add, and I then applied it. Okay, and that will give you these 2 extra columns. Now what this will stop you from doing is you might, if you're closely monitoring conversions, you might accidentally turn off a keyword that's actually working for you. So you might turn off a keyword that's bringing lots of traffic, that people are seeing your ads on, but if you stop that keyword, then by accident you're stopping people from converting later on, because they've not seen you all the way through. So you can now prove that people see earlier adverts, even though they didn't click it, or even if they didn't convert from it. And you can now prove that they have converted as a result of that. So I think this data is fascinating. It's really, really fascinating, and it will stop you from turning off keywords that don't work. So I hope you like that feature as much as I do. Okay, so, and then finally, the insights. I love this. So you can actually keep an eye on competitor behavior. So if we go into campaigns, okay, so we then click on details, and we're in something called auction insights, and we then click on all. So that was campaign level, details, all. Now what this does is shows us our competitors and how much they're bidding against us. So we've got a competitor's domain name, how much their keywords overlap with ours, how much they're above us, and how much they're at the top of the page. Okay, so you can also see their average position. So in fact, I'm gobsmacked really at the amount of information they make available about competitors. So an overlap rate is obviously how many of the same keywords they're using as yours. So this qwhub.com, for example, is using 19.53% of the same keywords. So you can see how close a competitor they are. They're only above us 2.83% of the time. They're at the top of the page only 6% of the time, and their average position is only 6.4. So you can assess to see how much of a threat they are. But I really hope that you enjoy seeing that report as much as I love it. So do keep an eye on that one. Right, okay, so I'm going to jump now over to questions. Steve says, is all of your teaching applying to the United States as well? Yes, Steve, it's absolutely exactly the same. I obviously still buy and follow all the latest courses myself and keep my own learning up to date, and that's generally, it's either American or Canadian, so absolutely yes, it's all the same. It's all the information that applies across the world. Like Gil says, we're launching our new website next week. How long before we should start our AdWords campaigns? You probably would want to start getting it ready, especially if you've got a draft of the website. You probably would want to start the keyword research fairly soon, ready to go. So yes, sooner rather than later, Gail, if I were you. So Erica says, I've got my mobile bid up 300% and bid low on desktop for bail bonds. Just like Locksmith, it's a highly competitive market. Yeah, Erica, I've heard of, we don't have that here in the UK, but I've heard of that market. Absolutely, yes, I would say, yep, they're going to be in an emergency situation. So yes, I would 300%. I would be testing it, always be testing. So yes, and see how you get on. You can always adjust it later. Okay. Right then, so I will have more of a chance to answer more questions at the end as well. Okay, but I've got to the end of all the questions that are on there at the moment. So here's what you've learned so far this evening. You've learned to avoid the 5 fatal errors that most business owners make that I'm spotting in 99% of account audits. So you can go and audit your own account now based on what I've taught you today. Advanced keyword research techniques, which should double click-through rate and conversion rate, and some really advanced stuff with what you should be focusing on in your AdWords account today. So, with your permission, I'm just going to share with you the next level for those of you that choose to take it. Okay, so I have created a red hot web lead system, which is the name of the AdWords course I've created. I've been delivering AdWords and SEO training for several years, and what I've done is I've compiled it, recorded it into a series of videos, which are all step-by-step, exactly the same material as the face-to-face courses. So it is at present, in fact I think it's more than 38 videos at the moment, because I've been adding videos to it every week, so it's probably about, well, it's over 40 by now. We've then got weekly group calls, which I record and upload with all of the latest features. So we covered something to do with geographical settings on last Friday's call, for example. I then upload it so that if you don't get a chance to make it on the call, you can always watch it later on. We've then got processes for how to do it. So the same processes that I developed when I was running my agency that I sold last year, and all of the instruction from the course manual, so the same course manuals that I actually give to people on my face-to-face courses. And the best bit is the fact that obviously your system won't go out of date because I'm always updating it, so week by week. So I launched this about 4 or 5 months ago, and I've added videos once a week ever since. Okay, so here's exactly what it includes: the keywords to bid upon, tracking your results, which keywords to concentrate on to bring in leads, how to create amazing adverts, all of the latest AdWords changes, how to steal your competitors' keywords and adverts, tools to build hundreds of ad groups fast. So I've mentioned uploading several hundred ad groups at the same time. I actually have a template that I've created that I make available to members of the course, which allows you to do this. So it's how we build campaigns. You can build several hundred ad groups in half an hour, just make it much faster. All of the processes for you to follow step by step. How to set up adverts for mobile phones, iPads, PCs, etc. And then we then have a networking group as well. And then obviously it's updated week by week with the group calls as well. Okay, so it's the same content as the AdWords Course 1 and AdWords Course 2 that I deliver, which are on my website, helpwithppc.com, and they are £790 if you were to attend them face-to-face. You then also get 2 private calls with me, which is where we can then discuss your particular approach and your particular account, which is normally best if you follow that on from an audit. So you do also get several audits. So it's 6 audits that you get. And I can look at your account and say, right, okay, this needs fixing, and then can then book in a call and talk about how you're going to fix it, etc. Okay, and we've then added in a bonus for the first 5 people who would like to buy into this system. Is I'm going to give away my personal Skype contact, so that if you've got any questions throughout the day, then you can just quite simply pop me a message and we can have a quick chat over Skype and get it sorted. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's 38 videos, all in a membership site, private setup calls, and in fact there's 2 of those calls, weekly coaching, so you get all of your questions answered, your Facebook group, which I've got a couple of my group members are actually on the call tonight actually, regular updates to keep your system up to date, and the Excel templates for how to get your AdWords account set up in minutes. and then the first 5 to buy get my private Skype. So if you're interested in taking it to the next step, then let me just pop that into the box for you. Okay, and that's also where you'll find the slides as well. So the slides are on that page at the bottom. Okay, so I've just got a few questions that I've prepared just in case. These are the questions I commonly get asked by people. So do I need to carry on paying the monthly fee? So it's £197 plus VAT for the first month, and then £39.50 plus VAT to remain a member. And you can cancel at any time and you don't have to stay a member. But basically it's a membership site. So when you cancel, it means you no longer want to get into the site. So it's as simple as that. And what you're paying for is all of the updates and the regular videos, the weekly calls, the Facebook support, but you can cancel at any time. And the support that you get to make sure that you're doing it right is obviously your private calls, but then you've also got your weekly group calls as well, and your Facebook support group, and where you can get all your questions answered. So how much time would I need to do this? I've suggested 2 hours a week is what you would need to allocate. You can allocate more, you can allocate less, it will just take longer. So how would I get started? You quite simply, there's a little video in the system that shows you what to do. You book your first call in with me. We've then got our first group call, which is on Friday, and you could book onto that one. There's instructions in the little system for how to, how to book on your group call and your private call, etc., booking your audit. But do in the meantime start watching the videos. So if your site isn't ready yet, which I have had a couple of you mention, you can use your call to ask me to help advise on the site. Are these landing pages okay, etc. We can help set your strategy. Right, now then it does come with a 90-day guarantee. So once you've tested it and applied it, if you're unhappy with it, then you can get all your money back, and that's obviously the first payment and the rest of the payments as well. So if it doesn't work for you, once you've tested it, then obviously you've got a full guarantee. Okay, so right, I'm going to just have a sip of water, then I'm going to carry on answering questions. So any questions to do with AdWords, if you now want to, either to do with the course or to do with the either the online course or to do with AdWords itself, or just pop them over and I'll start answering them. Erica says, is this available in the United States, and what's the exchange rate for this amount? Yes, it's definitely available in the United States. The exchange rate, it will work out once you start going through. Let me go into I'm just going into the page, I'll see. So once you get to the page, okay, it shows you. You just click that button there, get access now, and it will take you into a PayPal page, and the PayPal will then convert it for you. So once you log in, it will then convert it for you, Erica. So hopefully PayPal will do the conversion for you. If not, then you can just quite simply, what I do is I go to Google and I type 197 GBP in USD. So I don't know if any of you ever use that shortcut, but Google itself will do the translation. So £197 GBP in USD, $304. So there you go. Brian, glad you enjoyed it. Erica, you're welcome. Matthew says you plan to do anything with Google Shopping product listing ads. Yes, definitely will be soon. I'm going to be seeking a volunteer amongst our Red Hot Web Leads to help me do the demonstration videos. So that and where I'll then do some of the work in the account for them as well. So absolutely yes, but I will be seeking a volunteer from the course, from my course delegates in order to complete that. Lee, fantastic, glad you enjoyed it. Bonnie, glad you enjoyed it. Robert says, not sure if the USA listeners know that it's 20% VAT in the UK. Yeah, so we've got tax that was added on to that as well, Robert, Erica, just to confirm that. Yeah. Helen, glad you find it useful. Jerry says, can you show where you would see the auction insight report? Yep, no problem. Okay, so I was in all online campaigns. It was details, this little button here, all. Okay, and that then shows your competitors that are bidding against you just there. Fascinating information. Jason, glad you enjoyed it. Darren, glad you enjoyed it. Louise says she's going to have a look at what her predecessor did. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I can imagine. Matthew, I just realised that, Matthew, are you the Matthew that I've trained face to face? I believe you might be. Yes, Matthew says it is. Hi, Matthew. I met Matthew in London a few months back. Raj, glad you enjoyed it. Grant says, we've got somebody who's handling our AdWords at the moment. How can we work with you to audit their work to see if we're getting value for money and if we should be working with someone like yourself instead? Right, let me pop this. I'm going to pop this link into the box as well for people. Okay, if you want an audit, then I have a little form you can use to request it. Okay, so you quite simply fill in that form and you'll then go in my audit queue. So did you all see that little link that I sent you? Mike says if you're thinking about Claire's course, I definitely recommend it. Oh, bless you. Okay, I'm going to try sending that link again a minute. Right, okay, this time did you see the AdWords audit link that I sent you? For some reason right, I know, it's because I'm putting it in the questions box instead of the chat box. There you go, that's better. Okay, Robert, yes, I will contact you, no problem. Duncan says, can you show where to upload keywords to create ad groups? Duncan, we use a combination of AdWords editor and the spreadsheet template, and it's not something I'm going to go into now, to be honest. But it is entirely covered in the course. But the actual upload procedure is fairly complex, but it is fully explained in all the videos. Erica, good luck. She's very excited to try it. Shane, glad you enjoyed it. Gail, glad you enjoyed it. Wages, you're welcome. Sarah says, what would you say is a fair budget to start out with? I mean, ideally, I'd suggest around about £10 a day would be best to actually give it a good try. And when we take clients on for AdWords, we generally prefer that they've got a budget of at least £1,000 a month, obviously with bigger budgets. But when you're doing it yourself and you're learning, probably around about £10 a day should be enough to give you a good trial. Okay, just still reading through the questions. Do feel free to type any more in or retype it in if I've not seen it. I've got lots of questions in this box. Jag says, will you record this webinar for your members in the bonus section of Red Hot Web Leads? Jag, this is the same webinar as I did 2 weeks ago. So I uploaded the webinar recording from that one. So I have recorded this one, but it is the same as the last one. It's the same content. So you can watch that one. It's the top link in the Red Hot Web Leads fan page at the moment. Sarah says, amazing, truly know your stuff. Bless you, thank you. That's very kind of you. Jonas, you're welcome. Kim says, where can we get the slides? On the page, which was Red Hot Web Leads 13org. Okay, the slides are, if you scroll to the bottom, there, that link there. Okay, see that's a PDF document, and you right click, save link as, and it will download it as an Adobe Acrobat PDF document for you. Kim, you're welcome. Steve says, why can't you see overlap rate and position above rate on the insights? Not sure. Maybe you haven't got enough data in there, Steve. Yeah, not sure, Steve. I'd have to actually have a look at the account to tell. Yep, Mark has asked the same question where we can get a copy of tonight's PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, it's actually on the page right at the bottom. Jason says this session's being recorded, will be available for download. Jason, we record them for use internally and make them available to our Red Hot Web Leads attendee, course delegates. Erica says she can't find the slides. Right, it's right at the very bottom. Okay, so once you're on this page, let me just send you the link again. You then quite simply scroll all the way to the bottom, and it says Slides, Advanced AdWords Strategies. It's a hyperlink. Brilliant. Erica says she's found them. Matthew says, I've learned so much from your face-to-face course on these webinars. Even though we only run PLA, product listing ads, I apply these techniques and have had great results. Thanks again. You're welcome, Matthew. Jason, you're welcome. And you, Kim. Right, okay, so any other questions? I'll hang on for a couple more minutes and then we'll end it there. Okay, we'll end it there and I'll say goodbye and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now. You're welcome, everybody. Lots of thank yous coming through. Bye for now.